In this video, we'll talk about evaluating logarithmic expressions. This will be the first part of a series. What we'll do here is we'll talk about how to simplify logarithmic expressions without the use of a lot of logarithmic and exponential laws. So, more particularly, without being able to solve exponential and logarithmic equations with either exponents or logarithms. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say I want to figure out what is log base 2 of 64. Now, a fair question would be, well, okay, what does that even mean? We know that logarithms are inverses of exponentials, but what does it actually mean to take a logarithm of something? And the answer to what is this is a little bit tough to explain with logarithms. So oftentimes what we will do is instead of keeping it as a logarithm, we'll convert it back to an exponential. So the first thing we'll do is we'll say, okay, I don't know what log base 2 of 64 is, but let's call it something. I'm going to call it x. And then I can change this into an exponential. If we recall back to our little example, so 2 cubed is equal to 8 if and only if log base 2 of 8 is equal to 3. So I'm going to rearrange this equation into an exponential. Okay, so let's take a look. So this would mean that 2 to the power of x is equal to 64. Now we have some experience in solving exponential equations if we can get the same bases. So we happen to know that 64 is 2 to the power of 6, which, if we look at the powers here, since we have same base, the only way this equation can be true is if x is equal to 6, which means, since this originally x is log base 2 of 64, so that means log base 2 of 64 is equal to 6. And if we think about logarithms, they're tough to explain what they are. However, we can convert them back into exponentials. And that is how we end up solving a lot of the equations and giving a lot of these expressions meaning. Now let's take a look at one more example here. Same kind of thing, except I'm just going to jump right to it. So let's call it equal to x, log base 5 of 25. All right, then this would tell me, if I use my switcheroo, 5 to the power of x is equal to 25. And we know that 25 is 5 squared. So this would mean x has to be 2, which means log base 5 of 25 is equal to 2. And that would be my evaluated logarithm. Now, this works if the number in here is a power of my base. If we have something like, say, log base 2 of 7, 7 is not a power of 2. That makes things a little more difficult, and that's what we'll talk about in part 2. So stay tuned.